Welcome everyone to Gayle, Jann Yoga. I'm Gayle, and today we're going to do about a 20-minute video that is going to cover a lot of the basics. So we're going to work on opening the shoulders, the hips, building some core strength, doing some twists, doing some flow, and doing a little bit of balance. So this video is more for people that have done some yoga before. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I'm going to try and give some key points for alignment, things to focus on. But for some of my slower videos where I go into more detail, for someone who's a little bit newer or someone that wants a slower pace, you can check out some of my other videos. I've done some morning flow videos. But for now, this one's something that is going to make you feel really good, whether it's in the morning or the evening or in the middle of the day. So to try and have handy a blanket. These are Yoga Tuneup balls. This is the Coregeous ball and this is the Alpha ball. If you don't have these, I'd strongly suggest that you get some of these. They're in the link below. I'll tell you more about them. If you don't have these, then a tennis ball will suffice for now. Tennis ball will use a blanket and also 2 blocks. Okay, so we're going to start. For those of you that have the Coregeous ball, we're going to start on our back. And you can start with the ball underneath the shoulders. You can place your hands underneath your head and lift the hips. And just generally start to roll around on the ball. And we're going to bring it all the way down into the low back. So you guys stay on the ball. And for those of you that don't have a Yoga Tuneup ball, you can take a blanket, right? Fold it kind of in quarters. And then we'll do an accordion fold. So you grab the edges of the blanket, you pick it up, and you fold it down on itself. So we're going to fold it up about like a little more than halfway. Place the blanket on your mat. And we want this blanket to go right underneath the shoulder blades here. So not way up by the neck, the top of the shoulders, but in the middle of the shoulders. So you can lie back on the blanket and just let yourself relax, or maybe even kind of move around on it a little bit, varying the pressure. And you guys with the blanket are going to start moving it a little more down your back after, maybe 10 breaths. So bringing it down into the middle back and finally into the low back. Okay, so kind of opening up the back that way. So that's for those of you that don't have a tune-up ball. So for me, I'm going to use the Coregeous ball. And hopefully you guys by now can start to move a little bit below the shoulders into the mid-back. You might not be able to have your head and your hips on the floor. That might be too much. So you can bring your hips up and start to move around creatively. So you can move your knees, you can move your hips. Sway from side to side. And I like to just sit still sometimes and just let the effect of the ball sink in. It's very soft, it's filled with air, but it still really affects all the, it even gets in a little bit to the deep tissues, although it's focusing mainly on the superficial fascia, right? The adipose layer that attached to the skin. It's amazing, just this little bit of self-massage can really start to open things up. So a lot of times I like to start warming up with the tune-up balls. And then I'm going to bring the ball a little bit lower into the low back, so as you with the blankets can move down. And again, try a combination of moving and also resting in stillness. You can also move your legs around. How you move your legs will affect how you feel on the ball. You could come into like a Supta Baddha Konasana and roll a little bit side to side. You could spend a lot more time on this ball, but for now, because I'm trying to keep this video relatively short, even though it's hard for me to get off the ball, I'm going to roll to the side, place the ball away from the mat. And we're going to do some work on our hands and our feet. So it's really important to pay attention to the hands and feet, because they're going to be supporting our weight. So to start on the hands, spread the fingers apart, grip with the fingers, and start to roll around, noticing how the weight shifts on your hands and keeping your hands active and engaged. Reverse the direction of the circles. Keep that belly lifted. It's easy to let it go, let it drop. And then rotate your fingers towards your knees with the fingers spread. And if your hands won't go that far, point the fingers to the side, but whatever direction your fingers are pointing, you're going to rock in that direction. So if your fingers are pointed to the side, you rock from side to side. If your fingers are pointed towards your knees, rock forward and back. Get a nice stretch on the back of your wrists. And then sit back on your heels, shake out your hands, cross your wrists, interlace the fingers so the palms are facing each other, interlace the fingers, and then begin to bend the elbows and rotate the arms in and out. So for some of you, your arms may not straighten all the way when they're kind of inside out, and that's okay. You just want to get a stretch. You don't want to force anything or cause any pain. It should ultimately feel good. It's like a little bit of a lateral twist in your wrists, but the tightness of your shoulders can affect your range of movement. Switch the cross of your wrists. Bring the opposite hand on top, opposite pinky on top, and same thing in and out. And you'll probably notice a difference between your two sides. Most of us are not symmetrical. Surprise, surprise. Different things that happen to different sides of our bodies. Good, and kind of shake everything out. And then we'll work on the feet a little bit. So step your left foot forward. It doesn't have to be that far ahead of your right knee. Pick up your left heel and lean weight into your foot. Try to keep the big toe mound down. And you might even want to put more weight in your foot by lifting the other leg up. And then draw your back foot in with your toes tucked and send your hips back. And you can bring your foot a little closer. You want to feel a stretch on the top of your foot, the top of the toes. So pulling the leg back a little bit, and you can roll a little bit to the inside toward the big toe, a little bit to the outside toward the pinky toe. And just one more time on this side, really lifting up, putting some weight into those toes. Lifting the back leg up, shifting, and then step your right foot forward, left knee back. We'll do the same thing. Getting into the toes on this right foot. I'm really trying to keep this toe mound down, not lift it up, but keep it down and lift up through the heel. So I'm stretching the sole of the foot, lower down, lift the back knee up with the toes pointed, stretch back, stretch the toes. Be careful of how much weight you put on this. Again, like I'm saying, you don't want to hurt the feet. You do want to get a stretch. Stretch the inside, stretch the outside. Lower back down. Come up, knee forward. Maybe put a little more weight into that foot. Good. And then step your feet back. Take your alpha ball, or you can use your tennis ball here. And we're going to work on giving the shoulders a little self-massage. So if you notice the head of the arm bone, the humerus, it's kind of like a little ball shape. And then just below the clavicle, the shoulder blade, the collarbone, there's a little notch. And so I'm going to place this ball in the notch and lie down on my belly. And I'm going to just kind of lean into this and roll around. So I can roll kind of along the head of the humerus. You can roll across into the pecs, like staying above the breast tissue, below the neck, below the clavicle. And I can start to move my arms as I have some weight on the ball. I like to get it kind of like going to the inside, like almost into the armpit, trying to get into one of the rotator cuff muscles, the subscapularis. It's a very deep muscle. And you can move your hand behind your back. Just rolling around. I'm going to do the same thing on the right shoulder. So bring the ball right in that little notch there. None of this should be super painful. It should actually kind of like be a little bit uncomfortable, but feel good. Like you just can feel that the adhesions in the tissue are maybe starting to release. Oops, got the blocks in the way. So you can stretch your arm up. You can lean as much weight into the ball as you want. So less is often more. Like let's say your shoulder was sensitive, then you would want to do a really light pressure. And that'll still kind of moisten the tissue in a really powerful way. Now we're going to do the back of the shoulders. So coming onto my back, I'm going to place this ball right up near the top of the shoulder. Lift my hips up. And again, little movements, move the arm. You'll kind of just want to move in certain ways. And again, if I lift my hips up more, I can take some of the pressure off. I really like doing this on a wall, so you could take this to the wall. Then we'll do the other side, so the opposite shoulder. There's really no wrong place to be unless somehow you are pinching a nerve. You definitely don't want to do that. You don't want to go up your neck, like in the front of your neck at all. So for now, let's just stare on the shoulders. We're not going to spend a lot of time here, just a little bit of self-massage. Can't go wrong with that. Well, lower down and take your ball. And we're going to do a little bit of work on the glutes. So place it under your glutes. And just roll around any direction, out to the side. You could lift and lower your knee. You're definitely going to find some tender spots here. So again, all of this you can spend more time on if you have the time, or any time. You could do this as a separate thing, just rolling out with the tune-up balls. Move to the other side if you haven't already. Just roll it around. Make sure you get kind of in the lower glute and up in the upper glute. So we're starting with the tissues a little bit warmed up, which is always a good thing. So now I'll move this out of the way. Come back onto our hands and knees. And start to get into the spine a little bit more with some cat-cow. So grip the floor with your hands, soften the elbows a little bit. Keep the belly lifted as you move the heart forward, lifting the tailbone up to cow pose. As you exhale, round the spine. Move slowly so that you can pay attention to the movement and not just kind of whiz through it, but to find something new. To try and feel each vertebrae individually. Following your breath, driving your heart forward, really pushing the floor away, so engaging the muscles back and forth. And come into a neutral position, belly lifted. Lift from the left inner thigh, so you're not rotating the hip outward, but really igniting the hamstrings. Keep the belly lifted. Come up onto your right fingertips and float your finger forward. And find your balance here. For some of you that might want a little more challenge, you could try leaning forward a little bit and see if you can lift that right foot up, lower down, and do the same thing on the other side. So lift the right inner thigh, right leg lifts up. Try and square the pelvis, lift the belly, float the left arm forward. Hug the midline. Maybe shift your weight a little bit forward. Bring that left foot up. Forces you to use your core a little bit more. Wow, you can see I'm getting wobbly here. Now lower your knee down. Come onto your forearms with the elbows directly under the shoulders. Press into your hands and start to lift your belly. Lift the knees, stretch your heart forward, heels back, coming into your forearm plank. This is a great core strengthener. And you can press back and forth on your toes, keeping your body mostly parallel to the floor. And just a little gentle rock forward and back. And lower down, take a little break. Really try and relax on these breaks so that you have energy to continue strengthening the core. So again, tuck the toes, place the forearms, press into the hands, lift up. Think of cinching your front ribs together and relaxing the shoulders down your back, pressing into the hands. Then you can walk your feet forward, let the hips come into a dolphin prep. Squeeze the elbows towards each other and the knees as much as you need to. Keep pressing into the hands and then start to lift up so your elbows come into downward facing dog. And try bending one knee at a time and then the other knee. And then try both knees together. Pressing back through your thighs and your heels, not through the knees. So the knees kind of are lagging instead of leading. And inhale, reach your right leg up. Again, the inner thigh lifts, stretch your foot back, and then exhale, round your spine. Keep your foot as high as you can, your knee as high as you can, and touch your upper arm. And stretch it back. And exhale, round it. The more you can round up your back, the higher you can keep your foot, the more space you create for stepping forward into your lunge. So this time we're going to step forward into the lunge. Same thing. Hug the knee up. Shift the shoulders forward, step your foot forward. Make sure your feet are hip distance apart. Lift up through the belly, reach your arms back, and lead with your heart to come up. Reach the arms up, pull the belly in, lift the chest high. And lower your hands to the floor, lower your back knee to the floor. You can always place a blanket under your knee. And we'll get into some hamstring stretches. This is a good place to use your blocks. You can pull the toes up, stretch the hips back, keep a little bend in your knee to get into the front hamstring. And then come back towards your lunge, stretch your heart forward, shoulders back, let the back thigh lower a little bit toward the floor. And this can be a great stretch for your hip flexors and a little bit into the quads. Woo. And shift it back. Do your front heel into the ground. And instead of sitting back, think of reaching forward. So the hips reach back, but the chest reaches forward. And forward again. So if the hamstrings are tight and the hip flexors are tight, that can cause strain on the back. So we're opening that up to try and alleviate that or prevent that. So you can bring your blocks to the inside of your front foot. You can use 2 blocks or 1 block. Lower your forearms to the floor and start to move around. You can flex your right foot and let your right knee open out to the side without letting the outside of the right ankle come to the floor. Or you could keep your knee hugging in, or you could kind of go back and forth and do a little bit of both. And come back to your lunge, and we're going to switch sides. So you can step back through down dog, you can step the back foot forward, or you can do a little jump switch. So again, back knee goes to the floor, hands to the blocks. Stretch your knee forward, stretch your heart forward, let that back thigh lower down, feel the stretch on the inner groin. You can lift the inner thigh up, just like we did on the down dog splits. Pull the belly in, relax the shoulders back. And then pull your hips back, reach over your thighs. Soft bend in the knee. The more your heart reaches forward, the more of a stretch you'll feel. And you can kind of initiate a little bit of cat-cow action in the hips. You can see it's very little movement, but it'll change how the stretch feels to you. You don't want to go too deep here, so you want to go slow enough that you can listen to your body and accept wherever you are. Then we'll come back to our lunge, use the blocks, 1 block or 2, or even no blocks. So here I'm going to flex my left foot, let my left knee open out to the side, bring the knee back in, a little bit of rocking back and forth. Good, you can move your blocks to the side, but have them handy because you might want to use them again. And we're going to switch to the first side. So step, hop, or jump. Or the back knee down, bend the back knee, reach the foot up, and then look over your right shoulder, find your left foot. Here you might want to have a block underneath your hand. And then we kind of push your foot into the hand, use the hand to pull your heel towards your hip, reach your heart up toward the sky, keeping the shoulders open. So this is, I call this a threefer. You're getting a quad stretch, a little back bend, and a little twist. Release your foot. And this time I'm going to go back to down dog to switch sides. So it's up to you how you want to switch. Again, I'm going to use the block or not use the block. You can turn your toes out, bend your back knee, reach back for your foot. Activate the muscles by pressing your foot into your hand, and then see if you can bring the heel a little bit closer. Try not to collapse the bottom shoulder, but keep it nice and open. Lift your heart toward the sky. Some of you might want to come down on your forearm. Some of you might want to stay on the block. Then release your foot and step back to downward facing dog. And just walk out the feet. Lift up through the belly. Look towards your hands, bend your knees, and either step forward or hop forward. Inhale, lift up and lengthen your spine, keep the belly nice and lifted. Stretch that heart forward and then bow over the legs. Inhale, rise all the way up to stand. Then exhale, hands to your heart center. Inhale, reach your arms up, bring the back of the hands together, press into your right foot, lift up through your left ribs, and stretch over to the left. Inhale, back up to center. Recross your hands, pull those ribs in, lift and stretch over to the right. Inhale, back to center, release the hands, exhale, bow. Touch the earth with your fingers, and then inhale, lift up through the belly, reach forward through the heart. Let the hands sit back to plank. Now your choice, you can skip the vinyasa and go right into down dog. Or I'm going to show you, lead you through vinyasa, through chaturanga and cobra, and then into down dog. So keep the belly lifted, and think that even as you lower down, you're going to push the floor away. So stretch forward, bend the elbows, hug the legs, lower the hips, point the toes, press the top of your feet into the floor, and arc your heart forward. And then tuck your toes, press back to your down dog. Inhale the right leg up. Exhale, step it all the way forward between your hands. Keep the back heel lifted. Inhale, rise up. And then exhale, open the back foot coming into Warrior Two, Virabhadrasana 2. It's really important that your front knee faces the direction of your second toe, so the knee isn't collapsing in. Then push into your feet, expand through the shoulders, reach out through the fingertips, and press into the back leg as much as the front leg. You want your body centered in between the legs. Then keep that front knee reaching forward as you reach your back arm down the leg, reach your arm up and over. Then come back through Warrior Two. Pull your front hip back. You want to reach forward, coming into triangle pose. Now this is where you might want a block, or you might not need your block. Pull your belly towards your spine. Think of lengthening both side bodies, so instead of a lift, there's a lengthening. Squeeze your feet towards each other and alternately stretch them apart. Then gaze up toward the sky. And keep the legs really active as you find ways of lengthening through your spine. Then from here, bend your front knee. You can keep your hand on the ground, or you could bring your forearm to your thigh. Keep pressing into the back foot and reach forward over your ear. Ardha Konasana. Now lower the top hand down, step back to your down dog. Take a couple breaths here. Nice long stretch. Inhale, the left leg up through the planks. Exhale, hug your knee in. Pull it all the way forward, step forward. Inhale, rise, let the breath lead the way. Exhale, rotate the back heel down, warrior two, Virabhadrasana two. Inhale, reach up and back, reverse in your warrior. Exhale, forward, pull your front hip back, reach forward, triangle pose. Keep engaging those deep core abdominal muscles and lengthening from your tailbone all the way up to the crown of your head. Bend your front knee. Place your forearm on your thigh or keep your hand down. Sweep the back arm forward. Ardha Konasana. Lower your top hand down. Step back. Downward facing dog. Stretch out the back. Keep the belly engaged. Look towards your hands. Bend your knees and lightly spring forward. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, bow and lay. Press into your feet. Inhale, rise all the way up. Then exhale, hands to your heart. And then we'll do balance pose. So we'll do tree to warrior three. Bring your right leg up. Press into your inner thigh. Press your thigh into your foot so that you're not leaning out, but you're hugging in. Lift your belly up. So belly lifts up, shirt comes down, hands go up, or you can keep your hands at your heart center. So root down through your feet, lift up through your heart, and then release the top foot. Keep your hips back and reach your arms back, coming into warrior three, Virabhadrasana three. Keep the back leg as strong and active as your standing leg. Bend both knees, bring the back knee forward, arms up, keep your hips back, stretch your leg forward, and slowly lower down. I'll show you a side view this time. So, bring the left leg up, press your thigh into your foot into your thigh, draw the belly in and up, reach your arms up, or keep your hands at your heart center. Keep plugging your energy of your foot into the floor as you reach your heart up toward the sky. Release your front leg. Keep your foot flexed and active, and you can lean forward. Think of lifting out of your hip instead of sinking into your hip. Whoops, lost my balance there. Keep the belly nice and lifted. Stretch forward. And bend both knees. Bring the back knee forward. Wobble. Keep the hips back. Straighten bring the foot forward. And slowly lower down, let the arms release. So we're coming into a squat. Widen your feet apart as much as you need to. Bend the knees, sit between your heels. And here you can always sit on a block or roll up a blanket underneath your heels. We're working towards being able to squat comfortably. So trying to keep the shoulders over the hips, low belly lifted. And you can reach your left hand to your right ankle and stretch, a long stretch to your side, and come back and switch sides. Lower your hips to the floor, bring the soles of the feet together for Baddha Konasana. Now here you might want to sit on a blanket. There's a mess. Or you can sit on the floor. But think of pressing your feet in and reaching forward from your hips. So you want to keep your back long from the low back, not rounding back. So it doesn't matter how far forward you go. We're going for a stretch on the inner thighs. And then bring your knees in, lower onto your backs. And we'll do some hip openers. So I have the needle. Cross your right ankle above your left knee. Bring your right hand in between your legs and release your fingers behind your left thigh. And you can alternate between pulling your left thigh towards your chest and releasing it. So you want to feel the outside of the right hip being activated. And in the idea of trying to get a lot done in not a lot of time. Release your arms and twist your right foot over to the left. You can take your left hand, hold your right ankle, maybe open up through the inner thigh. Relax the shoulders. Lift your top foot up and stack your legs, coming into a gentle twist. Take some nice slow breaths here, seeing if you can relax into the twist on the exhale. If you want, you could pull your knees up higher. And then exhale, bring your knees back up to center, cross your left ankle above your right knee. Thread your left arm between your legs, and keeping the left foot flexed to protect your knee. And get into the outer hip area here. So just a little press and release. Belly still, reaching toward the floor, towards your spine. Release the hands. Twist. Maybe hold your ankle. Or maybe you could come up onto your toes and open that hip a little bit more. Keep the belly drawing back. And then come back up to center. Place your feet on the floor for bridge pose, a gentle back bend. So keep your hands by your sides. Widen the heels out a little bit so the feet become more parallel. Push down through the big toe mounds. Lift up through your hips. And you can start to walk the shoulders in and try and lift up through the back of your heart. And here you can interlace your fingers. Press your arms into the floor. Squeeze your feet towards each other, your knees towards each other. Not trying to touch, just trying to keep them from splaying out. And try and lift up through the back of your heart. If you wanted to, you could rest your hips on your hands. Or keep your hands down. And we'll just, your hips are on your hands, it's easier to stay here. But we're not going to stay here long, so release your hands, wiggle the shoulders out, slowly lower your hips down. All the way to the earth, bring your feet up to the sky, arms to the inside of your knees, and come into your happy baby. Now you don't have to hold your feet, you could hold lower down, so if your bum starts lifting up, just lower down. So you hold back to me on the floor, big toes pressing up toward the sky, a little rock from side to side. And then we'll hug the knees in, and with a hug, maybe tuck into a nice tight little ball. Then stretch out for our Savasana. You can wiggle your hips a little bit, wiggle your feet, just do little wiggles until you feel completely relaxed. Maybe lift up the shoulders and lower the back down all the way up into the shoulders. Try and relax your ribs towards the earth. Belly still towards the spine, but let it be soft. Palms facing up. That'll help keep the shoulders closer to the floor. And then just total surrender. It's like we're surrendering to the day. Not really sure what's going to happen. I mean, we know we have plans. Maybe you're going to work, maybe you're going out for a run, maybe you're meeting a friend. Whatever you're doing, we still don't know exactly how things are going to unfold, and we want to be able to surrender to whatever happens, learn whatever we can from it, and make our day as full and rich as possible.